Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPNFC Live. I'm Kay Murray, joined by Miguel Echegaray and Janusz Michallik as well. We've got a lot to talk about. We will start with Messi, of course. We're going to be talking the latest transfer rumours. PL Express is on the way too, and there is much to discuss. So what made me laugh first of all, LME, today is that the headline has been Messi's magic ending, because the Leagues Cup final was won. Messi played a big part in it. But really, it's just the beginning of life at Inter Miami. So let's talk about what is next for Messi.
Yeah, Kay, I wish it was kind of the ending. I'm exhausted. But like you said, it's the very beginning. It's just one tournament. We forget that when Messi arrived, he was really just getting ready for the Leagues Cup, the newly formatted Leagues Cup, not one single MLS match. And by the way, as you mentioned, of course, his and Inter Miami's next fixture is against FC Cincinnati in the U.S. Open Cup semifinals in Cincy. I will be there from tomorrow morning for ESPN, and I'm very excited about it. And I think that Inter Miami are also just looking for more trophies and want this momentum to go. They went from the worst team, still, statistically speaking, in MLS to now a historic trophy, looking for one more. So I'm very excited to see how this works out. Messi and Inter Miami looking for one more final. I can't believe it.
And yet, well, you wouldn't put it past him with what he's been doing. But talk to us about what Tata Martino's been saying about how they're going to manage his minutes, because he's been playing so much so far. I know the manager knows that this can't go on. So how does it work from here?
Yeah, usually when you talk about any other professional athlete, there is more of a direction led, obviously, by the head coach, in this case, Tata Martino and everybody else, right? But when you talk about Messi, it's really up to him at this point. And that's exactly what Tata Martino has said. Like, he understands the complexity and the overwhelming schedule all the way from when he came in 2 months ago, right? And now, obviously, another U.S. Open Cup. Not to forget that he is supposed to, as well as Inter Miami, play his first MLS fixture this weekend against the New York Red Bulls. And then the schedule gets tougher and tougher. But Tata Martino said, it's up to him. Like, right now, he wants to play. That's just the kind of person that he is. And obviously, you know, there's a difference between a player saying he wants to play and then the medical team saying, yeah, you're good enough. But with Messi, so far, he's ready to go. He should start and he should feature against FC Cincinnati. After that game, Kay and Janusz, it will be intriguing to see, because obviously a few days come and then they have to go to Jersey and face Red Bulls. And then after that, some more MLS matches. Then LAFC they have to visit in September. And then they have to travel. He has to travel to Argentina for World Cup qualifiers. So it's going to get tougher. But as of now, he's starting for Inter Miami against FC Cincinnati.
What do you think, Janusz? How's it going to play out from here when MLS play resumes?
I mean, look, you had a long break. There's only, 12, 13 games left in the season. What are we talking about? You know, there's Lionel Messi who plays in a very economical way as it is. So I think just because of that, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Look, Messi is the biggest story in football right now. If you agree or not, it doesn't really matter to me. It's a story not just in the United States, but everywhere else. You know, as I've said before, this is an absolute masterstroke. No other player in the world could move the needle like he did. Not even Ronaldo, not even close. Nobody. In particular, because the way he came into this league, right? I mean, 10 goals, 3 assists in 7 games. Won all 7 games. Won the trophy, first trophy for Inter, who are dead last in Major League Soccer. I think he's special, but he's not as special as some may think, because I don't think Inter are going to make it to the playoffs. I really don't. That's too much to ask. But I think if he wins another trophy, if he beats Cincinnati in the semifinal, that's a possibility. That's all you can ask for. That's laying a foundation for Inter Miami, who are going to be immediately one of the favorites to win the MLS Cup next season. That's all you can ask for, because nobody in their wildest dreams probably even thought that what has happened up until now is possible, right? And again, I'm not getting pom-poms out. Those are facts. And it's going to rub some people in Europe, and by the way, I'm European, the wrong way. But that's a fact. I mean, the biggest story in the world's football. This is a player who's going to win Ballon d'Or. If there's any doubt, even this will help him a little bit. But he's won Ballon d'Or, won the World Cup, was the best player in the World Cup, came into Major League Soccer to the worst team in the league, and look what's happening. Again, it's important to add that Busquets and Alba doesn't hurt, but look what he's done himself to some of the younger players, to some of the players around them, how much they've raised the level right now. So this is just the beginning. What's going to happen from now on until the end, at this stage for me, it's irrelevant. The foundation is there for Inter Miami to be another super club in Major League Soccer. And I don't think anybody has even come close to mentioning Inter Miami in these terms.
Okay, so let's go there as well, Luis Miguel, because I know you've been following this story every step of the way. You're off to Cincinnati as well to follow the next part of this big story in this chapter of Messi's career. And I know even in your interview with him, your one-on-one interview, you spoke about how happy he is. We can all see how happy he is. He's really embraced it, hasn't he? So we're hearing reports of him actually speaking to the players and giving his expertise as well and putting his arm around them, him and Jordi Alba. Have you seen any signs of that?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, it's been from day one. I'll give you a very quick story. I think I've said it before, maybe even on this show, but it's worth for our viewers to hear it and listen to it again. When he first arrived to Inter Miami, literally days after landing in Fort Lauderdale, he's just getting used to the teammates and everything. He doesn't speak English, obviously some broken words and stuff, or he refuses to in many ways because he just wants to focus on the Spanish, which is fine, but he's still communicating with everybody else. One of the stories was right before that Super Bowl-ish amazing announcement in the stadium at DRV Pink Stadium when Messi comes on and there's music and all that stuff. It was a hot ticket, right? Everybody wanted to go, including a hot ticket for all other teammates. Leo Campana, the Ecuadorian striker, they have a WhatsApp group. This story is through DeAndre Yedlin, by the way. Leo Campana in this WhatsApp group through all the teammates is saying, hey, I need 2 more tickets for this presentation. And everybody's like scrambling, trying to figure it out. In pops Messi in this WhatsApp group saying, well, how many do you need, brother? I got you. And everybody was like, oh my God, like he's right here. So he immediately puts himself in there. And then that's just an off the pitch story. But on the pitch, as you mentioned, he's just an absolute team player. There's stories from everywhere. Drake Callantu, Benjamin Cremacci, the young Argentinian America player who's like his right-hand man right now, who was playing in the youth setup before he came on. Now he's like right next to him in the games. He has taken him under his wing. So everybody's just like buying into it. And that's the beauty of this story. Of course, it's about Lionel Messi and his 10 goals, 3 assists, as Janusz said. But it's also about the human being, the person that he is. And he's finally happy because Antonella Roccuzzo and the kids are happy. And he's in a city that really cultivates and nurtures this story. So everything so far is going according to plan. And I like what Janusz said. It's true. I wouldn't call it so far irrelevant, but the foundation has already been set. So whatever happens from this moment, whether it's wins or losses, the story will continue to elevate because Messi is happy. Inter Miami is a determinant force, and may so it continue for everybody in MLS. It'll be exciting to see what happens after this.
Yeah, we all know happy wife, happy life. I know you guys can attest to that as well. That is a very important one. Very quickly then, from both of you, while we wrap this up, I'll start with you, Janusz. Is the league going to need to keep bringing in huge signings? Obviously, nothing's ever going to be as big as Messi. Again, we know that. To have that relevance year in, year out. And I'm not just talking about being able to be recognized internationally now like they are because Messi's there, but we're even seeing on the domestic front, people who don't usually follow football/soccer in North America, completely interested and taken by this story.
Absolutely. I think other owners will see that as well. I mean, we've been here before, but remember, the league continues to grow every year, right? Just as we had some big names towards the end of their career coming early in Major League Soccer, maybe it was just too early. Now, I think these owners are going to see it. The new trend has been to kind of move on the young players and make money. But I think what they see from Messi, now we saw, I think the other day, Antoine Griezmann said, this is where I want to end up. I think, in the future, maybe seeing this, maybe, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years from now, Kylian Mbappe comes here a little bit earlier than he normally would have even thought about. So look, I mean, even with Messi and Inter, I think the way he's happy about this, his stay, he himself can encourage others. I mean, when Messi speaks, a lot of people listen, right? So I wouldn't be surprised that not only does he make Inter bigger, because obviously he has a stake in this team. When he retires, I hope that he stays with Inter Miami, uses his influence to make Inter Miami better, to continue to bring some of his former players or maybe, big time players that trust him to Major League Soccer. And I think you're going to see this perhaps from other owners as well, because it's not an issue of money here. We all knew that. It's an issue of mechanisms. And these mechanisms are going to evolve, right? These owners have more than enough money. A lot of these guys are billionaires over and over, bigger, they have more money than some of the owners in Europe. So I think I'm not saying that this is going to be a trend, but I wouldn't be surprised. But you have to go after the right people, not just big name, but the right people that truly embrace and want to be here.
Yeah, I'll answer this question based from the horse's mouth himself, Kay. When I had that one-on-one with Messi, I asked him, what do you think needs to happen in order for the US MLS to continue to grow? With you, without you, alongside you, what do you think? And his first sentence was, it's up to MLS itself. Meaning, all the points that Janusz just said, right? Including, and the conversation I had with Don Garber right before the League's Cup final, where he said, listen, I want to make sure that every club is responsible for what's happening and understand the magnitude of it and understand how we can all succeed as a result of it. I've always said there's three factors that really should be fundamental in order for MLS to continue, right? Number one, okay, absolutely. You have to make sure that you attract the right talent, just like Janusz said, and you don't get more correct than Lionel Messi. So hopefully that's an attraction that comes in. But number two is also making sure that MLS continues on this really beautiful story from the Miguel Almiron stories, where nobody knew who Miguel Almiron was when Tata Martino brought him to Atlanta United, and look what happened. He's just one of many. That needs to continue. The young, undiscovered, whether it's Latin American or from other regions, to come. And then the third one is these MLS clubs need to do the same blueprint of the likes of FC Dallas, where you're creating these young, talented, American or Mexican American, whatever it is, players that keep continuing to grow, because you need to have a deep foundation. All those three things, if they continue to happen, fantastic. And now that you have Messi, and again, I echo my friend Janusz's point, now that you have Messi, then the door's open. Now you have people like Griezmann saying, that's where I want to go next. And then maybe Kylian Mbappe, who knows? But all those things need to come together. The World Cup 2026 is in the US. Copa America is next year. All the proverbial stars are aligning for this to continue to succeed. But just like Messi said, it depends on MLS itself.
Make it quick, Janusz.
Yeah, just a very important point is that the owners have to be allowed to do it. And you've mentioned that because, Messi's a little bit different, right? I don't think that you're going to have Apple TV and Adidas and everybody else pitching in to get, the Griezmanns and everybody else in the world. This is unique. So let's be honest about this. And it should be unique because Major League Soccer got a unique player, one of the best in the history. It's arguably, I suppose, to some people. But so that's important, that this deal is different from, I think, almost anything else other than maybe Pele way back when.
Yeah, and that was way back when, like you said. Okay, thanks so much, LME, for being with us. We'll let you get back on your travels. We look forward to see what the next step is on the Messi show. We will be with it. You will be with it every step of the way. Quick fire transfer rumours then, Janusz. That's where we're going to next. One of them, Ansu Fati to Arsenal. Thoughts on this?
I could see it, but no. No, he's got he's at a great club. He's at Barcelona, right? If it wasn't for that long-term injury that he had, I remember when he came on the scene at Barcelona, it was incredible. Made it to Spain, to the national team, and proved himself there already as well. I think Luis Enrique at the time was the manager of Spain. And obviously, since the injury, he hasn't been the same. Barcelona, I think they can use him. They haven't had a great start to the season in the way they've played. Ousmane Dembele is out. So, there's space on the wings for him to show how good he really is. I don't really see the difference. What would he have accomplished going to Arsenal? Competition for places is going to be big, right? On the left-hand side, you have Martinelli. On the right side, you have Saka. Trossard is there as well. Kid, you at Barcelona, show us and prove it that you can play and you're a great player as you did when you came first on the scene. I wouldn't.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what he wants. He wants to succeed at Barcelona, and the word is unless a significant Premier League offer comes in. But those PL clubs are on red alert that this could be a player that's available. The next transfer rumour is Lukaku to anywhere and everywhere, it would seem right now. Juventus, apparently Roma with a little meeting today. We're seeing this talk of Premier League clubs. Where is Lukaku going to land?
I don't know. I just hope that he keeps quiet and he keeps working hard, because he keeps shooting himself in the foot, right? I mean, the story with Inter to me is incredible. I actually can't believe it, right? Going back to Chelsea, then telling Chelsea that he misses Inter, goes back to Inter for the second time, does well, obviously, and now he wanted to go to our rivals Juventus, who, by the way, don't need him. Look at the start they've had to the season, and Vlahovic probably not going anywhere. So I don't know, but I think there's a quiet time for Lukaku now, and I'm speaking to him if I could. I'm taking a big leap, because I'm sure he knows what he wants to do, and doesn't need me to tell him. But I think, who knows? Chelsea again, Spurs, that may be, Ange is doing some wonderful things, and he's a great manager, knows how to deal with people. It's a complete 180 with Spurs in the way they've played, just the style of play, long season, but great already. Richarlison, not excellent, that's for sure. No Harry Kane. Not a big move, obviously. Can keep the same house. So maybe Spurs.
Maybe. We'll keep our eye on that one. Sofiane Amrabat to Manchester United. It's apparently provisionally agreed, but they'd need to sell McTominay or Van de Beek. Think this would be a good fit?
Yeah, we'll get to who they should sell in terms of Manchester United. I suppose there's going to be a place for him there. I think it's a need. It's a player that had a wonderful World Cup's done well with Fiorentina, obviously last season, getting them to a European Cup final. I watched him closely, obviously, in the World Cup, and he was sensational. And it's a position that they absolutely need cover. I think he's a player that could step in and play alongside Casemiro. If Casemiro is not available, obviously fills that void in terms of his quality and his experience. So if that were to happen, I don't think anyone would question it, and Manchester United need it.
The next one, because we're going to mention Ryan Gravenberch here. And the reason we're mentioning him is because apparently Manchester United have ruled out going for both him and Amrabat. So we're seeing him linked with Liverpool as well. Rafa Honigstein today reporting in The Athletic that Bayern are weighing up selling the 21-year-old. We saw that it was limited playing time last season. He didn't feature in the first game of the season, was on the bench, at least starting for that game. So what do you think here, Janusz?
Well, you just said it. He doesn't get a minute. He doesn't get a sniff for Bayern Munich right now. Liverpool have been after him for a while. This is nothing new, and it doesn't have anything to do with their inability to get Lavia and Caicedo, by the way, right? Plays differently. So this wouldn't be a panic move, because they've been after him, right? I think a lot of probably fans will probably point to that. Oh, Liverpool panicking. They've been after him for a while. Okay, but does he make an impact immediately? Probably not. So to me, I'm not saying I've gone cold on this one, but I just don't think this is a player that comes in and makes an immediate difference for Liverpool.
Okay. Let's move on to our hot takes then. We're going to do a similar style with this. They're not really our hot takes. They're actually takes that we've seen on Twitter, on X, that people have said, and we want to know what you think of it. And I'll wade in if I think anything does warrant a mention, to be honest. First of all, Jude Bellingham will go down as Real Madrid's best ever midfielder. And this comes on the back of him saying, I think I'm 10 times better as a player than last season. Obviously, we know last season he won Bundesliga Player of the Year. We've seen the start that he's had at the club, that he's showing his versatility, that he's already scoring and assisting goals. You can see why people are saying something like this, but it is quite a big statement, Janusz.
No, I don't see why people are saying something like this. And he's probably having a laugh there. Look, this is Real Madrid. If at the end of his career, he's as good as Casemiro, Toni Kroos, and Luka Modric, then he would have a great career, right? Because when I think about, some of the people that I remember, my age, Zinedine Zidane, Michael Laudrup, Fernando Redondo.
Redondo. I knew you were going to say Redondo.
Listen, I've been wanting to say that. I've been trying to squeeze him in. One of my most favorite. But he maybe wasn't the best. Maybe on Twitter I wait for his birthday to say something. probably not as appreciated, as many. Probably some don't even remember who he is. But one of my favorite players, not just for Real Madrid, just in general, an Argentine. So this is absolutely crazy. We know it, but for somebody to even mention that on Twitter or anywhere else, it puts unnecessary pressure on, of course, on Jude Bellingham. I think he's done tremendously well, because it's not easy to transition into Real Madrid and have an entrance like he's had. So fair play to him, bravo. I hope he does well. But as I said, my goodness, this is royalty of football, some of the names that I've mentioned. And even the ones that he's playing alongside with, there's still a long ways to go.
Yeah, I know. And you could go even further back than that, before we were even born, Janusz. Because working for the club, I remember some of those names too. So yes, some big names before him, but he's definitely had a great start to life at Real Madrid. Next hot take: PSG will not win a Champions League this decade.
Probably not. At least they're not trying so hard right now just to get a collection of Galacticos, right? Real Madrid seems to have a trademark on how to do that and incorporate that. But again, with so many managers changing seats right now, obviously no Messi, no Neymar, Mbappe still there, but who knows for how long. Luis Enrique has come in, obviously a bit of a U-turn on their part. So I think that's positive, only from a standpoint that maybe they've recognized that they really have to build a team and not a collection of stars who don't get along or don't know how to win it together. So that is not an outrageous statement, to be sure. Look at Paris Saint-Germain this season, right? Two games, 2 draws, 12th place in Ligue 1. I'm sure that's going to change. But looking at their squad right now, still Marco Verratti likely to perhaps leave. I don't see a squad capable of beating the best teams in Europe.
Last hot take: Erling Haaland will finish his career with more Ballon d'Ors than Mbappe. And can I just add as well, we've heard Stevie Nicol on ESPNFC this week. If you keep seeing the QR code pop up, that's where you can go to our ESPNFC page. That's a daily football show, as if you don't already know. But if you don't, that's where you can catch it every single day, 365 days a year. A lot of talk about football. Stevie Nicol called him a brat. Mbappe, that is, not Haaland.
Did he give an explanation of why he's a brat? Because I don't get it. He's going to be, I still think, one of the best in the world when it's all said and done. I don't see him as a brat. In fact, he stayed at Paris Saint-Germain. It took a president, Macron, to ask him to stay, I suppose. But look, he stayed. He's a kid that grew up playing football, in Paris. I think that team is close to him. But how is he different, Stevie? And I respect you, Stevie, as you know. How is he different from any other player? He wants to play at the biggest clubs in the world, right? And I think we were just talking about Paris Saint-Germain. I think he's done his job in terms of winning Ligue 1. I think he sees that it's going to be a transition. Always wanted to play at Real Madrid. Any big name in the world. We always see them wanting or being asked to leave. So, he's still there. But no, I haven't seen anything from him where I would call him a brat. He just wanted to leave on his terms, stayed an extra year. Don't see it. And what was the other one? Erling Haaland finished?
Yeah, who's going to win more Ballon d'Ors between the two of them? The hot take is that Erling Haaland will. That's the hot take.
I guess it'll depend who gets to Real Madrid first somehow. That's how I have it. Look, first, let's get this out of the way. And that's unfortunate for Haaland because, Norway probably won't be winning many World Cups. They'll be happy to get into one, right? We do remember Kylian Mbappe, even in that final and the loss to Argentina. Sensational. A hat trick. Absolutely sensational. I think France will be they will be the favorites to win the World Cup in 2026 in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. I think Mbappe, with that team and the players around him, is going to once again feature as the best player. I don't see it, and it's as I've mentioned, it's a bit unfortunate because Erling Haaland can't pick where he's from, and obviously he's not going to have players around like Kylian Mbappe. But I wouldn't see that. I don't.
Okay, time to bring this show to PL Express, round 2 for PL Express for the 23-24 season, and lots to discuss. Brighton are brilliant. We're going to start there. Manchester United have some big question marks after what we've seen from their first 2 games. What do we think about Pochettino's time at Chelsea? It's obviously early days, but we have to discuss that. And we're going to be talking about Arsenal, as well as Manchester City and Kevin De Bruyne's absence. But let's start with Brighton, because what a brilliant start it's been for them, Janusz. They are top of the Premier League. In their opening 2 games, they've scored 8 goals. They're showing life without Alexis McAllister and now Moises Caicedo. So far, isn't so difficult. We're seeing tweets like this, Brighton bubble, after Moises Caicedo's debut for Chelsea didn't quite go according to plan. Obviously, very early days, new club, not going to go too hard on him. But are Brighton going to finish in the top 4 this season?
Already with those questions, right? 2 games in. And look, I mean, it's hard with a team like Brighton, because look what they've done, right? And it's, you know, Roberto De Santis has said, right? I mean, you can take our players, but you can't take our spirit and our soul. And that's exactly what they've showed. And they've showed exactly that, because they will never change the way they play, which in a way is their downfall, because it's impossible to play like they do. The high pressing, the commitment of 7 or 8, 9 players, winning the ball quickly. What they've done, I mean, their statistics are the same as last season, at the top of the league in almost everything. And yet look where they ended up. So, I mean, it's so hard, because, you know, I've thought about it, right? And I say, okay, maybe I'll say something super smart that, you know, nobody else has said it. And of course you can, because I don't know why they won't, but they just won't. They won't be in the top 4, because I think it's such a demanding way of playing that over the course of the season and at Europe and all this, it's just going to be nearly impossible. I think that's the only reason for that. That doesn't mean that they're not going to be knocking at the door, and it doesn't mean that we're going to be saying that they're better than some of the teams in the top 4. But playing great and playing well, you know, doesn't mean that you can get there. That's how difficult it is in the Premier League. I mean, look, Mitoma, I mean, sensational first goal. I mean, the individual effort is incredible. He continues to push on, right, from what he's done last season. Solly March, who isn't happy, by the way, for Solly March, had an injury that took him away for quite a while, and came back strong at the, you know, last season, and 2 goals here already and again. So that's positive. But I just think that not just the way they play, but how demanding Roberto De Santis is. When you buy into it, when you're with him, it's sensational. When you're not, it's not an easy life. And so I just don't think they're going to end up there, but I'm going to be cheering for them. And I'm going to, you know, because you know what? I mean, people want to watch them. This is how good they're playing. Mm-hmm. By the way, I thought he should be Italian manager, right? It looks like, you know, it's Spalletti, but
Spalletti, yeah.
Can you imagine Roberto De
Santis? Well, actually, it leads me to my next point, and the fact that you have mentioned Mitoma as well, Janusz, because it does feel as though, as good as they are, they're going to keep showcasing how good they are. De Santis even said we're having to play in different ways now without Caicedo, so he's showing his adaptability too. But Mitoma, it feels like with what we're seeing now, he's going to be the next one that's going to be lured away. And you've just mentioned the manager yourself, that you thought he might be going for that Italian job or be picked and lured away for that. Is that what's going to happen here? Is it only a matter of time till more players and potentially the manager himself's getting taken elsewhere?
Absolutely. I mean, there's an end to this, but I think if you look at De Zerbi, I think he understands that. I mean, time is on his side, isn't it? Right? I mean, it just. If I had to guess, he's been approached. Probably said no. There's a job or 2 that he truly wants, and by playing and doing what he's done with you know, a small club, because we have to call Brighton that. You know, he knows that call is going to come, and it's just a matter of time, because obviously, I mean, look, I mean, when he was at Sassuolo, obviously we didn't know much about him, but we knew the way Sassuolo played. Then all of a sudden, I think we all surprised. Where did he go to? Shakhtar, I think. I mean, obviously, was it Shakhtar? I think it was Shakhtar.
I think it was Shakhtar, yeah.
To Shakhtar Donetsk, obviously. You know, and then the war and everything else had to change, probably because he would have wanted to stay there. We all know how they played. They've had all the money in the world, all the Brazilian players that eventually moved on. But Shakhtar Donetsk was a significant club in Europe in the Champions League, which obviously showcased what Roberto De Zerbi can do. So I think it's just a matter of time, of course, for players or not. But Roberto De Zerbi, I don't know which club that is, but there's probably one or two, only two clubs where he says, okay, I know exactly how my coaching career is going to develop, and my next step is this. And it's probably, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and in the Premier League, I don't know if there's a club that he would say, woo, you know what I mean? Unless it's a struggling, I think if Chelsea came calling, perfect club, immediately he changes the mentality of that club. But I also think it has to be an environment where he feels people are listening to him. And from that standpoint, I don't know if I'll go back on that, because I don't know if Chelsea's the best environment for that.
Yeah, but you can see why the link would be made. All right, let's talk about Manchester United. We actually didn't get too much time to last week. We have to this week. We're going to talk about 3 players that they should offload right now. And it doesn't really necessarily have to be the way that it's actually working and what reports are stating for you, Janusz. It can be you playing sporting director, you having a say in this, and 3 players that you would say, okay, time's up here. Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Well, look, I mean, I'm going to stay away from first and foremost, I don't think Manchester United has done a great job. This is a Manchester United. They haven't strengthened to a degree that Manchester United should. Yes, there are 3 players that came in terms of Onana, Mason Mount, and Højlund. But as we've seen from the first 2 games, they need a lot more, and they need it very, very quickly. The reason I'm having problem with getting rid of players is because they're not deep. I continue to say, even with those 3 players, they're not deep. Here was the issue, and you and I have talked about in the first show, or even in our previous show, is that I feel as if this is the same team from last year. Not much difference yet, right? And I think that Erik ten Hag has squeezed everything possible he could last year. We've said it. How does he do it better this year? And I think we've seen the first 2 games, and we start to worry a little bit. It's only 2 games, but I don't know how. So I don't know if I'd be getting rid of people, because that squad is paper thin, in my opinion, in terms of true quality. But if I had to, I'd let go Maguire. I feel bad. Look, I mean, this is a former captain, the most expensive defense. Well, not anymore, but, up there. It's just not right to have him around, right? I mean, right. I bet you some of his teammates are like, man, this is uncomfortable. Our captain, a player that's played every minute, he was always counted on, and here he is, not able to even get a sniff. I mean, you've got to cut that out. I don't want to call it a Cristiano Ronaldo situation, but a similar thing, right? I mean, you just need to move a player on. That's one. The other one, and I never, again, likable figure. We all know his story. But I think Christian Eriksen, because that midfield, again, I think if you're going to spend that much money for Mason Mount, you've got to invest in Mason Mount, and you got to hope that he's going to get that midfield to a higher level. You can always play Bruno Fernandes there. He's played there alongside Casemiro. You can play Bruno Fernandes almost everywhere, and he plays well in that situation. And I would move him because I think you'd still get some money for him, right? I mean, he's a very, very good player in the right environment. I think he's going to continue to play well. So I would get some cash and invest in that, especially if Amrabat comes in. I would do that. And the third one, and Van de Beek, maybe an easy one, but I'm shocked and surprised that he's still there, and he probably has to go. But, I had a difficulty looking into it because I don't know how much value you're going to get. This is Manchester United, and are people going crazy and on the phone to Manchester United? We want this player, that player, this player, that player. I'm not so sure. I could have said McTominay, but I think
obviously. But doesn't that just show as well, Janusz, how poor the management and the purchases have been? That there's so many players that even Erik ten Hag's already had to offload, that they were just there still. It feels like he's still got a lot more work to do on top of all of them trying to achieve everything he's going to be trying to achieve this season too on the pitch.
Yeah, short of calling, the Manchester United board is failing Manchester United, but it's close to it because it's so easy to look at the 3 signings. They're expensive. I understand financial fair play, but that team needs a lot more. And look, it's only 2 games. I think Manchester United are going to get better. I have no doubt about that. But a little bit of a warning sign in it against Wolves at home. And again, look at Manchester United. Look at the issues they had last season away from home against top 10 teams. Look at first game. Look what happened against, who thought Andrew was going to do such a job against Spurs? But United were horrible away from home last season against top teams, and first game, and they lost.
Okay, Janusz, next question, we're sticking with Manchester United, is where do you stand on those that say Andrea Onana is overrated?
I think you can ask questions. I mean, I think, maybe they made a mistake when they were looking in Milan for a goalkeeper, right? Because, I mean, I think there's zero doubt that Mike Mignon is a much better goalkeeper at Milan. It's not even close.
The Milanisti are like, shh.
So obviously, but I mean, if they were going to go after, one from Milan, that's probably the one to go. Look, I mean, they knew they were taking a risk because they wanted to change the way they play. So we have to understand that. I mean, I don't know if we can say that there's some unbelievable howlers just yet. I mean, you're taking on a risk because you want to play a little bit higher. You want the formations to be a little bit tighter, and you want a goalkeeper that's comfortable with his feet. And everybody's going to be making mistakes. Ederson has done. Look at Liverpool and Alisson, right? I mean, already kind of, didn't look great. But I mean, if it wasn't for Alisson last year, I don't know where Liverpool would have been. So I understand that. I also remember how David De Gea started his life in Manchester United. So I'm going to reserve my opinion in terms of saying that this is a bad buy, because I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt simply because I understand the reasoning why Erik ten Hag has done it. He has his philosophy and way of playing, and De Gea was never going to be the man to get him to that next level. Is he going to be able to do it? Who knows? But I understand why he made that move.
Let's talk about Chelsea then. Pochettino still in search of his first Premier League win after 2 games. There was that opening day draw for them against Liverpool. Then they've just been beaten 3-1 by West Ham. Is he going to last the season, knowing what we know about Chelsea?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, here's the worst part. Look, I think Pochettino has given a little bit of identity to this team. Forget the result for a second, because they could have been much different. Here we are talking, but look at the game against Liverpool, right? I mean, the second half, all Chelsea didn't get the result. In this game, I mean, God only knows how West Ham were able to win it. When you watch the first 45 minutes, I see what he's doing. I'm not panicking. I still don't have Chelsea in the top 4, but it's one of those situations where I like what he's doing. I think, Jackson looks the part. He's dangerous, hasn't scored. Those issues still there. Enzo, even though he missed a penalty, looks different. I think he looks freer because of what's happening and behind, and he's got the ability to roam a little bit. What I worry and continue to worry, I said the last show, is which Todd Bowley are we going to get? And doesn't this all remind you a little bit of Graham Potter right now? Just too big of a squad. I have to imagine that Pochettino is saying, how do I run a practice? Just like Graham Potter. I mean, how many players does he have? He's got to have like 35 in there, if not more. I would want to see Pochettino, because Pochettino's got to be smart here. He knows he's at Chelsea. He probably thought after the conversation with Todd Bowley and everybody else, okay, I'm going to get it my way. But now he's going to say, okay, before this goes sideways and backwards, I will go straight in there and say, listen, I am going to play 8 or 9 or 10 key players over and over and over again. Before some of these young players start to come into my my office knocking on the door, why aren't we playing? And stop buying the players right now. Only buy the ones I need. But I would worry from that standpoint, because I wonder what they're in the business of, Kay. Are they in the business of winning, or are they in the business of buying young players and running a business? I think there's a fine balance, but I think Chelsea are used to winning trophies and not hoping that in 3, 4, 5 years they may win something.
He said afterwards, this is only the beginning. We believe in the process. With time to work, we will be strong and competitive. So we'll see. Chelsea do play on Friday against Luton. So he'll be hoping that will be at least his first win there. Arsenal played on Monday, though, against Crystal Palace. It was an Odegaard penalty. The difference in these two sides, Tomiyasu sent off in this game too. What have you made of Arsenal to this point so far? Because I'm going to ask you your top 4, your very too early top 4 predictions next.
I don't have a problem with Arsenal. I mean, again, dominant. I think in the second half, things went against him. I mean, we can talk about the yellow card. Obviously, I mean, just to get this out of the way, I have a bigger problem with the second yellow card than I have with the throw-in. This is just the referees trying to make a statement because they said about time wasting 8 seconds. What are we going to do now? Count seconds, who had more, who had less, the consistency of it. I had a bigger problem with the second yellow card because I didn't think it was a yellow card. I didn't think it was a foul. It was wasn't it on IU? I still don't get why why second yellow card is not reviewable. It should be because it's a massive decision. To me, it should be no different than red card. You sending a player off. You making a significant change to a game and the way the game's going to be played. So that's my thing. If they're going to change anything, I wouldn't count seconds how long a player has to throw the ball in. But a second yellow card, that's questionable for me and should never have been a second yellow card to start with. So that's my issue. Other than that, I think that obviously changed the game a little bit. And again, I don't have a problem. Arsenal showing character, not conceding, getting 3 points. Look where they are in the table. Good start to the season, not perfect. But by the way, who has been really perfect so far? There isn't one team other than, Brighton maybe, that I could say, wow, they're close to their potential. I don't look at the league this way after 2 games, so I'm not going to pick on Arsenal in any way because point-wise, they're exactly where they probably want to be.
Okay, so it's only 2 games, obviously, as you've said. The top 4 as it stands is Brighton first, Manchester City second, Arsenal third, Brentford fourth, and I'll just throw in 5th and 6th just for good measure, Liverpool and Spurs right now. After the first 2 rounds, who's your top 4 right now?
I'm not changing mine. Mine was Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, and I'm not willing. Obviously, I'm a little bit worried about Manchester United, but again, I know that's going to change. It's very important to find a rhythm of the season, right? And that hasn't happened. And you can almost pinpoint everybody because the bigger, we've had some significant injuries. I mean, players going out, De Bruyne and Ming. I mean, you can go Buendias and all that. As I've said before, the preparation for the season is different than it's ever been. I think these tours are getting worse. I don't think any of these teams had a proper preseason. A lot of injuries that are happening is because you can't get the fitness. You're traveling all over the world and you're playing, 3-4 days into your preseason, you're playing games. And I think that's why we see it. I think some of the key players on many of the teams have not found that game fitness where they feel that they can be at their best for 90 minutes, not for 60 minutes, not for 70 minutes. And that's happening, by the way, where managers are taking players out because they feel that they've reached their limit. And for that reason, I'm not changing anything because the top club showed me that they're still, when it's all said and done, they're going to be there or thereabouts. So I'm not changing anything.
Okay, that's going to be my sticking point for the season on PL Express with you. Last season, it was Erling Haaland's goal tally. This season, I'm going to keep seeing each round, if you're sticking with Manchester United in the top 4. That can be the question every single week now.
That's a question mark for me. To be honest, Liverpool has been as well. But I mean, good start. They have a big game coming up this weekend too. So, I mean, we have to look at the schedule. By the way, have a look at Brighton's schedule at the 8 or 10 games at end of October, November, and early December. I mean, that's going to be their season because it's incredible who they have to play. And that's why sometimes I say to myself, there's going to come a time where Brighton aren't going to be able to do what they're doing right now.
Okay, it's time for final thoughts. And here is where I want to squeeze in what's going to happen now that Kevin De Bruyne is out injured, given how crucial his role is to this Manchester City side, given the fact that players who would be maybe stepping up without him there have moved on. So who do you think is going to be the player to step up in his absence?
Well, last week on the show, we said that we were a little bit critical because we haven't seen it. Granted that it was just preseason and 1 game, right? But we've said that Phil Foden has to step up. He listened, right? I mean, we had some issues, and what a wonderful game. So he's the player. I think players that are going to have to step up is Bernardo Silva, and he will now because psychology is a big thing for me. Just renew his contract, right? We've always, there's always talk about Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain. And, the window's still open. So knowing what I know, expect the unexpected. I still looked at him as a player that, that was unsettled to a degree. But by signing a contract, by the way, even in this last game against Newcastle, massive game, no Stones, no Bernardo Silva, because I think he was ill. So he's going to have to step up. And, they're not done in the transfer window. They're close. I think the deal hasn't been done for Jeremy Doku. It's going to be a wonderful signing. Can play on the right side or on the left side. So obviously, no Riyad Mahrez. He can step in that, which will allow Bernardo Silva to come central and fill in for De Bruyne to some degree. He can play on the left-hand side if Grealish is not 100% fit, which he isn't yet, but that's not unusual, to be fair. And obviously, they probably will still buy another central player at some stage. But as it stands right now, I think it's Phil Foden for me and Bernardo Silva. Those are the two players that will have to carry the team in absence of not just De Bruyne, but Ilkay Gundogan, because that's a massive loss as well.
Well, thanks for being with us for ESPNFC Live. And for those of you who tune in to PL Express every week as well, make sure to always check out the latest talking points every single day on ESPNFC. They are always touching on the biggest topics and debating them too. And we'll be back to do this all again 3 times a week. We do at ESPNFC Live. But as for PL Express, we're back every single Tuesday at the same time. So we'll see you here.